not moving. He was not walking. How is he going to think? The only thing, subhanallah, it's once we put him, the physical therapy, when they put him in the bike, the tricycle, he would like pedal. Like he would know how to pedal. But if you tell him move your legs, he can't. So subhanallah, what I had to do is just take his like IV poles with all his chemo and drugs and all that, and him and napkin and bags of when he throws up and everything. And here I am, I have C-section. I did C-section. Yeah, it was a C-section. And here I am, I'm tied up from my, I can't even lift up. But I was like, no, I have to help my son. I remember, like, subhanallah, I went to the bathroom and then I just closed my eyes and I pulled out my stitches so I don't feel that tightness in my stomach. I had to, and I didn't feel no pain. Yani, subhanallah, there was no pain. Alhamdulillah, yani Allah, when He gives you like usr, He gives you yusr.
Yeah.
He
doesn't give you more than you can bear. Allah knows you're a strong person.
ما كلف نفس على وسعها. يعني there's no way, like I was constantly repeating the ayah in my head, like, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, يعني Allah, يعني you gave me this thing, just help me through it, let me get through this. And then I would take him and then put him and then go around the whole hospital with him so he can like get that out of the thing. The first 2 months he couldn't get it out of his body.
And what would happen to him when it doesn't come out?
He was burned. It was okay, so every 18 days he has to get a chemo, but he has to excrete the previous chemo. The first 2 months he couldn't excrete the chemo out of his body because he had so much cancer cells in his body. Like literally, they wouldn't show me his scans, the previous scans, because of his bones, how they're already like they were expunged because the cancer already ate all his bones. And يعني subhanallah, يعني they did not want me to lose hope, because as doctors they were like, as doctors we if it wasn't for you telling us like, okay, move and thing, there's nothing like your son proved to us. But we studied in medical school, like his oncologist been an oncologist for almost 36 years. He, wallah al-azim, he had another job offer in Grand Rapids here in Michigan, and he took it before Uwais. But he stayed an extra 2 months, not working in the hospital, but coming to rounds and taking care of Uwais, because he was like, I need Uwais. Because I know he was like, wallah al-azim, he would, every time he walks, he was like, this child is going to save lives one day. And I'm going to take care of him, because one day he will take care of me. And I'm not going to leave him. He's teaching me what my books never can teach me. Because khalas, they do what is the protocol. What the protocol told them to do, they're doing it. Other than that, they'll raise their hands and they were like, okay, it's up to you, Uwais, now. Show us what you're going to think. There comes days, like especially at nighttime, where he codes and he goes bad, and they were like, Mom, there's nothing that we can do. Like, it's up to Uwais. And then the daylight comes and Uwais comes back, and I'm like, come on, another day. And then when the sundown goes down, and I'm like, come on, another night, subhanallah.
I'm sorry, but that was very deep, laying the groundwork and the framework of the whole story. So we appreciate you sharing that. And definitely one of those things where, we just wanted to give people an understanding of what exactly. And I'm sure this was a 5-minute wrap up of.
I wanted to say, like, how about your husband? Were you guys taking turns? Was it like, did he have to work? Did he have to?
Well, my husband, he had to quit his job because with COVID, and he can't be around Uwais and going to meet people, and he has an immune compromise. And then the other thing too, only one parent was allowed with the patient.
Wow. And
the doctors, like, they were like, go home, you're postpartum, go home, let the dad. I'm like, don't you ever dare ask a mom to go home when her son's like this. Mentally and physically, I will be destroyed. I'm already here and my son needs me. And Awais was so attached to me. Like literally, he would sleep and just like he has to sleep and he has to like feel my face. And the whole time he was in the hospital, he would sleep like with me next to him in the bed. My husband, like the only time that he was can like I allowed me to come, it's when I broke my back. I broke my back. Subhanallah, that was Allah's way of telling me, go, you need a timeout. He had to break my back.
Like physically,
Physically.
Doing
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, lifting.
Lifting. Like subhanallah, like
You know, when you have a C-section, you're not supposed to lift
yeah.
or walk upstairs or walk downstairs or do a lot of movement. Like if it's even worse than a regular natural pregnancy.
Yeah. يعني the doctors literally they would write on their notes to the nurses, mom 30 minutes break. Like the nurses come in, give mom 30 minutes break because she's refusing to go home. And then one day I was in the hallway driving around Uwais, and then I came to lift him up from his tricycle, and then the nurses were in the nursing station, and I came to lift him up, and I heard my back, and then I just froze. I couldn't move. The nurses knew there was something wrong. I didn't want to scare Uwais. Like the whole time, يعني,
He was put before you.
the whole time I was just trying to be strong for him. Like I was not trying to show him any weakness because kids know, يعني, subhanallah, when they're in the mom's womb, like they can feel fear. And I was not trying to give away, like it's already physically, he can see what he's going through, you know, and I don't want him to see that mom is also weak. So I'm like, I just stood still like this, and I was like, the moms, they knew, and then I was like, they came running to me, and I was like, just take Awais, just take him. They took him, and then two nurses lifted me up, and then we sat down, and then the night nurse, and she was like, I think you have to go home. You can't just, how are you going to take care of him? And I was like, no, I still can manage. But, yani, subhanAllah, the morning came and I was already stiff. Like, literally, I can't even lift my finger because I was already broken. Like, I was just like this. So the doctors, they were like, that time the doctors, they were fighting with the administration, let dad also come. Because mom has a special condition, and dad can do the physical work, mom can do the emotional work for the son.
Yeah.
They refused because COVID. Yeah, so the night nurse, she snuck my husband in, so when we do the swap, it would be smoothly for Awais.
Yeah.
So she let him stay overnight, and in the morning, when Awais saw his dad, he started crying. Like that's when we start like noticing like he missed him. But at that time, Awais already started to look like a cancer patient. Like I still remember like when he started giving the chemo, he slept and then his hair started like mashallah, his hair was so thick and it was so silky, and he woke up, it's already on the pillow. I was like to the nurse, do you guys have anybody that can come and like cut his hair? I don't want to see
that. Yeah.
I don't want to like see that. And they called one of the specialists. They came and, they started thinking. And then Awais was looking at me like, Mommy, why? And I was like, Awais, remember Ramadan? Subhanallah, during COVID, Ramadan when everybody everybody in my family, the guys, they decided to go bald.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, subhanallah, I had something to refer. I'm like, Awais, remember when we had to go bald during Ramadan and thing? I'm like, this is, part of this, so the hair is going to sweat and everything. He just looked at me and he was like, okay, Mom. It's like, he doesn't know. Like, when the doctors come in.
He trusted you.
Yeah. Like, the doctors had to come in and tell him, Awais, you have a bug in you that we have to kill really hard. And till now, he's OCD. Awais right now, like, when he plays with his friends, he has sanitizers everywhere.
Oh my God.
Because he's afraid of bugs
Yeah.
or any kind of, like, before he eats, he washes his hands like 7 times. Because he's afraid. Like, that's how, like, kids stick things to their head.
Yeah, you probably never wants to ever go through that ever again. Like, who would want to go through that ever again,
Yeah. Kids are resilient, but, they say, oh, he's going to grow out of it. He's not going to remember. No, he's not remembering the pain, but wallah al-azim, the other day I was in the kitchen and then all I hear Awais is screaming. And then I was like, I ran to him and I was like, what's wrong? And he just like stood still right there on the TV and he was like, turn off the TV. I was like, why? And all I see is the St. Jude Hospital, Children's Hospital. And he's looking at it and as if he's like, Mom, no kids are supposed to be in the hospital. And I just like broke down right that moment. I was like, he does remember. Like even the small
How old is he right now?
He's 6. He just turned 6 December 1st. The things that we used to do in the hospital, like watch a movie or me reading him a book, and then he, like right now in school, and he was like, Mom, remember when I was a little kid and you used to do this? He never refers it back to the hospital. Or remember when the nurse, for 8 months, his best friends were nurses and doctors. Like he was antisocial. After that, like literally always just like these couple months started to like give comfort zone to other people. Like he couldn't stay in school because everything was fearing. Like he was fearing like falling. He was fearing like people moving by him. And alhamdulillah.
SubhanAllah.
Fahmi Hussein said this is one of the many reasons why the Prophet ﷺ says ummaktum abuk, respect, and he said alhamdulillah ala salama when you were mentioning your back situation. We are going to learn more about this whole story after our next ad. We're going to give a shout out to BC Adhesives, our friends out in Wisconsin, and then we're going to continue on. We're still talk about some of the difficult journeys and also some of the positive stuff that came out of this whole situation. So shout out to BC Adhesives.
I believe it's very important for every team to stick together. And what I do here at Oz Media to make sure we are all one glue is I stop by
Girl,
BC Adhesives.
انت من حق
Yeah, I don't know
الجنة.
if that's what it's
Subhanallah.
Nah, Yusuf, it's not. But you can go to BC Adhesives for all your industrial adhesives needs. They do food packaging, book binding, product assembly, and many other industrial services. So if you're in need of adhesives for your business or having trouble with your current adhesives applications, you can contact them by phone 1-888-679-9825 or go to their website at www.bcadhesives.com.
All right, we're officially back. Like I said, this was going to be a deep conversation. Shout out to Samar. She's doing a great job with the whole conversation and kind of getting us through. Just want to check in right now with Sada and what's going on. Sada, everything okay? Like, share. You want to mention anything or share anything?
Can't talk right now.
All right, Abir.
I'm trying not to look at you so I don't get, I'm trying as much as I can, like, to not be emotional. Like I was telling you, subhanallah, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's to make you go through hardship and to remember, but not to remember the pain. Like the sensation, the pain that really, really hurts, it does not exist after the fact. Like when women give birth, they remember the whole process, but ask them, well, how did it feel? Wallah, none of them can tell you because it's unbearable. Subhanallah, if anybody can live with the same pain over and over, none of us could have existed because when Allah tests you, He tests you hard. That's why when inna ma'al usr yusr, you just have to believe that. The whole time I surrendered. Once my son called and the doctors tell me there's nothing else we can do and everything, I just, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, that Allah gave me strength. And then just to go in a corner and just bow to Allah. And I'm like, Allah, please give me the sabr. Until, wallah al-azim, I was holding on to life through the whole time until like he got really, really, really bad to the point, alhamdulillah, astaghfirullah, he was about to like die, because they couldn't give him chemo because they need, and at that time, I was already timed out. I was already at home with a broken back. Imagine being far and to hear all these news and you are just talking to the doctors on phone and my husband's like, what am I supposed to do? What decision? And I'm sitting there and that time, I knew there was nothing else in my hand that I can do. It was all subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether I'm there or not there, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wants him, He'll take him. He wants to keep him from me, He'll keep him from me. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, once He gives you something, doesn't matter sickness, test through your life, marriage, car accidents, anything, any hardship that you think that you cannot handle, know for a fact Allah gave it to you because you're special. This is for you. This is a guest from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Treat it that way. An ugly guest. You know how we get sometimes guests that we don't like, but as you know, because نحن أصولنا and we have to, we can't just kick them out. يعني استغفر الله العظيم. Let's welcome them with a fake smile. Welcome them, treat, serve, go home. That's it. That's the whole time I was like, this is an ugly guest from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And through every time, like, the people around me, my parents, my siblings, like, alhamdulillah, yani everybody, Dr. Kamal, yani this unknown person that till this day I haven't met, like, everybody, like, telling me, like, trying to, like, make me stronger. I still remember my mom, she told me, I don't want to hear you cry. I want you to walk through this وانتي رافعة راسش. Wallah al-azim. So the whole time when my son is a really bad condition, I'm calling to hear about my other son, and I can't, but I'm holding down my tears because I don't want to show my weakness to my mom because I want her to be strong for my other child. You know what I mean? So it's like, it was too much from both sides. Like when the doctors tell you can't breastfeed your child, it's either you stay with the child with chemicals or you go out and breastfeed. I couldn't give him any my breast milk. Always I fed him for 2 years, and I wanted to do this. And my plan was to do the same thing for Salim.
It's like that guilt.
Yeah,
Feel.
until now I feel guilt. You know, Salim, I took him back. I saw him when he was 9 months old.
Wow, that was the first time you like.
Yeah. So, يعني subhanallah, يعني I surrendered to Allah. At that time, I was like, رفعت يدي, and I was like, يا رب, هذه أمانتك. If this is what you want him, you brought him, take him. بس أسألك إن يعني to give me patience, صبرني, and let this be as easy as it can be for any mom. And if you want to keep him for me, I will do my best to like protect him, what I can do. بس خلاص, I lifted my hand. Wallah al-azim, once you surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's when you start seeing the end of the tunnel. That's when you start seeing, خلاص, Allah gives you start coping with it. After that, I started coping with خلاص. My life right now is in the hospital. My house, my room is this room. This bed, this window, this kitchen, this sink, in this bathroom. This is my life right now. And as COVID, we can't even go outside. You know, oncology patients, they have like, you know, especially pediatric, they have like fun zones and that. But with COVID, he was not even allowed to step out of the room. So as a child, the 2.5-year-old, he's sitting in bed. All he knows is watching TV or think. But wallah al-azim, once I surrender to Allah, Allah started giving me ideas. No, don't let him just sit in bed. Pull him down. Throw a mat on the floor. Give him the toys. Bring the therapist. There was music therapy. There was art therapy. I started asking about all those, you know. Khalas, Awais, you're a kid. Do that, you know. I started acting like a mom, not as, astaghfirullah al-azim, as like, I'm the one who's going to give him life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yani I started acting like, what do I need to do? As me, as a mom, what do I need to do? To be there to guide him, and that's it. At this moment, Awais, all I can do, I'm sorry, Habibi, I'm just gonna sit around you, hold your hand, make sure you live your childhood life. That's it. Before they give him any chemical, I read Quran. I didn't even trust the thing. كل الوقت I was like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one who's gonna, not these.
Yeah.
Wallah. And that's when I started like, آمنت بالآية إن مع العسر يسر إن مش بعد العسر يسر. No, Allah brings you hardship and He gives you things. You just have to open your eyes, take away your tears, look at the picture, the full picture, so you can see where is the light in this darkness. Once you find your light in the darkness, hold on to that and live, cope with it. There's a light in the end of the tunnel. Nothing stays for life. There's life and there's death. That's it. Nothing lasts.
SubhanAllah. And sometimes Allah, you know, tests us in a way where we can remember that at the end of the day, Allah has all the power.
Yes.
You know, and they say not to love something too much because at the end of the day, everything is a gift from Allah. And like you said, if Allah wanted to take him, if it was His time, regardless of how you felt or what you did or anything that was not it was not going to be the case.
Yeah, he's not mine.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like so thankful that my husband was not the one who was there with me, because he would have made me weak,
Yeah.
because this is his,
It was everything.
angel. Yeah, it's like he would have made me weak, but at that time I had to be strong for everybody, including myself, but I couldn't done it like without the help of Allah subhanahu. Who am I? And I'm not there's no such thing as Superman, Batman. No. In life, in real reality, you're your own power. You're your own superhero. You just have to dig deep and know who you are, what you're capable of doing.
I just want to say, my wife just said, heart is so heavy. SubhanAllah, strongest woman I know. Thank you for sharing your story and being so positive. And so I know you mentioned a lot of difficult parts that was going on throughout that whole process. But like, what was like the most difficult one? Obviously, with you just giving birth and breaking your back, and having a son who was dealing with the cancer.
Having a newborn.
You have a newborn, yeah. So it's like, what was like the most hardest part to you throughout that whole process?
The hardest part, it's when I was I had to be sent home, and then I get a phone call from the doctors to tell me that that there's nothing else that they can do, and if I want to come and say goodbye. Because there's nothing like else, like literally there's no any medications that they can give him through the mouth, because his whole mouth is burned. Like they had to like fly a tunnel from I forgot what other state, to helicopter IV tunnel, because they can't give him oral tunnel or suppository tunnel. So they had to, I never knew, as a nurse, I did not know there's IV tunnel existed until like, okay, we have to give him IV tunnel, but the hospital did not have it because they don't normally use it. So they called it in from different hospitals.
How long from when they told you that till he finally got better? Like, how long was that time?
Like, subhanallah, once they told me that, automatically, like, alhamdulillah, at that time, like, I was already, like, processing and healing better. So I just told my dad right there and then, my dad and my brother, I was like, you guys need to take me. I need to go. So they took me, and I remember I was wheeled in from the male lobby to the room, and then when I arrived to the room, I saw everybody was already around Awais. And I saw Awais like a whole different person. He was not my son, like a whole different.
Even more than when you were there?
Worse.
Oh,
he was worse. Like, his head was 10 times bigger than his whole body. His mouth, worse. Like, I can show you pictures. Worse. Like, I walked in, I looked at my husband, I'm like, who is this? My husband was like a thing, and then the nurses were already crying, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, and I was like, just put me next to him. At this time, they were already wailing him to the ICU. And then the nurse was like, I think we just need to put Mom next to him. So they managed to help me, like, to sit next to him, lay down next to him while they were wailing the bed. And he was just looking at me, and I was looking at him. I was like, I'm sorry, there's nothing else I can do. I just went upstairs with him to the ICU, and he was like, at that time he had fever, he was shivering. And as a mom, when your son has a fever, you want to cover him. I couldn't, because to them it's like, oh, you're still making him more hot. So I was like, no, I need to cover him. He was just looking at me and shivering and so much pain and a waste. He potty trained himself. Like, he was, mashallah, he was 10 months old, and he didn't want to use diapers. Diapers was like a big phobia to him. And then when he saw me, he looked at the diaper. He was like, Mommy, I don't want diaper. Like, I was like, alhamdulillah, like, I still knew, like, Allah gave me a little bit of a sign, like, it's still a waste, because I know my son doesn't want a diaper. And then when the nurses, like, brought him to me, it was, that image I cannot imagine, like, it was a totally different person, and there's nothing I can do. It was just like him shivering, and he had like ice packs under him, and cool blankets, all these medicines, and his mouth is like drizzling blood, and all this is burned. He couldn't even keep saliva in him, and he's just looking at me and shivering like, Mom, what are you supposed to do? Like, what can a mom do to look at him? Like, I'm supposed to like help you, but I couldn't even look at him. I did not even want him to think. And like I said, always when before he sleeps, he loves to sleep like on me and like touch my face. Mama, I want to touch your face. You know, he touched my face, my neck, and then Mama, read the Quran. Mama, you know, the thing. At that time, he wanted me to lay next to him. I couldn't because I was paralyzed. Like I couldn't like get in bed really quick when he needed me, and he was like, "Mommy, come," and I was like, and the hardest thing, Allah tied me up. Like it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Like you tied me up, Ya Allah, and at the same time you were showing me this. This is a test to my eyes, to test to my eyes and my husband. يعني هذا هو يعني الامتحان for the parents. It was not امتحان for him. The whole time I was trying to test to play reverse psychology in my life, telling myself my son is not in pain. He's mimicking the pain. He's playing the role perfect. He's a perfect actor, but he's not, because there's nothing. To see your son like that, that's the hardest thing ever. And then alhamdulillah, they had to sedate him, they had to put him to sleep, and subhanallah, that's the time when I surrendered to Allah. And then I was like, Ya Allah, you want him? Take him. He's yours. Before then, I was not expecting or believing that's an option. I was fighting that's not an option. There's no way you can take my son from me. I was fighting with Allah. Astaghfirullah al-azim. There's no way you can take my son from me. You know, I will be the strongest. I will be the best. I will be the mom, the dad, the sister, the brother, everything to him to make him good. I will be the doctor. The doctors don't even know that I was a medical profession. I did not let them know that, because I want them to treat me as a dummy, because you're not going to come and talk to me in a medical. I'm not a pediatric nurse. I don't know the dosing. I don't know anything about oncology. I literally just served it for 3 months to get an A and walk out. So oncology is not my profession. So I was trying to play like the mom that doesn't know anything. But eventually down the line, like the doctor, he was like, okay, tell me, are you a doctor? Because there's no way.
Yeah, your
the things
questions
you're asking us to do that we don't even recall doing, but you want us to do. Or when you're round with us, like every morning when they come and round at 7 a.m., I make sure to wake up and I stand there with them to round. Me and Dr. Kamal on the phone. Like, I need to know exactly, step by step, you know, my son thing. I still remember, like, they were like, one time, like, they had, like, ifs and buts, like, okay, should we discharge him? But he still has that. And I fought for him, like,
to stay.
yeah, I was like, no, you're not discharging my son. I literally had to rent an apartment in downtown next to the hospital for me and my husband, just to, like, you know, swap once in a while, or like if I need to take to go to the bathroom, or, you know, or when they discharge him, literally they like during Christmas they wanted to discharge him, like to, like, you know, they think خلص الكيمو, he feels good right now, his counts. We didn't even last 6 hours. We had to go back, because once he has a fever, he has to go to the emergency room, and there's a big protocol that they have to do. I can't give him Tylenol at home. I can't do nothing for him at home. I have to take him to. He didn't even last 6 hours. So alhamdulillah, like I said, once I surrendered and I believed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one for everything, and Allah, you want him, take him, just give me patience, انزل علي الصبر. And if you want to keep him with me, Allah, this is your amana, I promise I will take care of him. Wallah al-azim, at that moment, I remember one of his doctors, he came to me, and he just, like, he saw me sitting down, he just came and sat next to me, and he just put his hands around my shoulder, and he was like, pray to whoever you want to pray, to whoever you want to believe in. As a doctor, that's all I can tell you right now. Wallah. Awais was in every single service in that hospital, including dental. He was everybody knew Awais at that hospital, from, like, okay, I can't do that. Let me call this other service. I can't do that. Let me call this other service. But alhamdulillah, once I surrendered and his body fought it, and he got up, and like his cells went back up, and and he reacted to it, and the chemo